Hi you guys, you know I'm a big fan of the Roth IRA and I think everybody should have one. But sometimes we make too much money, and although this is a nice problem to have, it would be nice to be able to give our $6,000 to our Roth to get that tax-free growth. So what if I make too much money? But what if there was a way around it? What if there was a back door? There is. We're going to talk about it next. Firefighter Financial Toolbox. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Backdoor Roth. Now, when would you want to consider doing a Backdoor Roth? When you make too much money to automatically contribute to the Roth. The contribution limits this year for Roth, if you're married filing jointly, the phase out begins at $193,000, and when you get above $203,000, you can't make any contribution to the Roth. If you're single, it starts at $122,000 and it totally phases out at $137,000. But there is a back door. Now, this is completely legal, but there's a couple things you need to think about. A, if you look at my video I made on deductibility limits for the Roth, it'll tell you how to figure out, if you're in the phase out, what you need to do and how much you're allowed to contribute. So it's important that you do this right so you don't get a tax bill later. The second thing you need to remember is if you have any other traditional assets, i.e. you have a rollover IRA or your wife does. Remember, if you're married, all your assets are considered as one. If you have an old SEP IRA, if you have a simple IRA, any traditional assets you have in an IRA can be considered problematic if you try to do a backdoor Roth, and we're going to talk about why. If you don't have them, let's assume that you don't have any other traditional assets. Now, a 401k does not count. So the simplest thing to do is, if I had a rollover IRA, if I was able to roll that rollover IRA into my current 401k, I could get rid of all my IRA traditional assets. It would give me a sum of zero. That's important because if I don't, if I have other assets, I have to consider the Pro-Rata Rule. Now, we're going to talk about the Pro-Rata Rule here for a second. But first, let's talk about how a backdoor Roth goes. You know, everybody, regardless of your income, is allowed to make a traditional contribution to an IRA. If you're 49 or under, it's $6,000 this year. If you're 50 or over, you get a $1,000 catch-up. So what does that mean? Now, we know deductibility limits are low. And we already know we make too much, so we don't fall in that range. But what we can do, we can make a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA, and then the next day we convert that traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, thereby kind of skimming the rules. Now, we talked about if we have traditional assets that can be problematic. There's something we need to think about called the Pro-Rata Rule. Now, we're going to go to the whiteboard and we're going to talk about this, you guys. All right, so here we are at the whiteboard. We're going to talk about the Pro-Rata Rule and how this works. So, the Pro-Rata Rule. Let's say, for example, that I had a traditional rollover IRA from an old 401k that I rolled over, and it has $60,000 in it. Now, because that is traditional assets, right, meaning pre-tax, the government is going to want to get their money on that. So I make my $6,000 non-deductible contribution, right? Now the problem I have is I have to actually divide the full amount here into the amount I'm converting. And what that's going to do is essentially make it so that only 10% of my contribution was tax-free, leaving 90% to be taxed. So as we can see, it doesn't really do us a lot of good to convert or to do a non-deductible conversion if we have other traditional assets. Now, you guys, it's really important that you don't mess this up, because if you do, the tax man will come and find you. The IRS knows that you owe tax money on this amount. It can be very problematic. So, what do? What's the easiest thing to do? Let's say we have that $60,000, right? So instead of making the contribution before we do, we take that $60,000 in our traditional rollover IRA, and we try to put it into our current 401k. Remember, 401k is a qualified plan, so it doesn't fall under the pro-rata rule like IRAs do. Now remember, all types of IRAs, rollover IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs. Now we don't talk about those very often because they're not as common, but if you have any of those assets, you guys, this is going to be important. Now, your 401k has to allow for rollovers. If it does, you can roll that balance into your 401k. That's going to leave you with $0. If this is the case, now when we make that $6,000 as non-deductible, we can wait one day and we can convert it to a Roth. And then we have all $6,000 growing tax-free, which is what we want. So you guys, to sum it up, if you don't have any traditional assets, a backdoor Roth is easy. You simply make a non-deductible contribution, you wait a day or two, you convert it to a Roth. It all becomes tax-free. If you have other traditional assets in an IRA, be it rollover, SEP, simple, whatever, or your spouse does, if you're married filing jointly, it's all considered part of the same kitty. So if you have it, be very, very careful of the pro-rata rule, because you can get burned at tax time. Okay, you guys, this is the down and dirty. If I missed something and you think it's important I should have put in there, leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed and you got something out of this, give me a like. Subscribe to the channel. We're finally above 70 subscribers, and I'm stoked about it. You guys, as long as we keep people watching, I'm going to keep making videos. All right, take care. Thank you.